Hare Ganga Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. In this episode, we are going to dive deep into business, particularly for online businesses. So if you do not have an online business, this episode probably won't be the most relevant for you. Go back to my episode last week on getting into your lower chakras, or my episode with Malika about connecting to earth medicine. But if you are someone that has an online business, which I've been polling my Instagram, and about 90% of you either are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs, then this episode is for you. So I sat down with my dear friend, Scott Oldford, who is an incredible, just conscious business expert. He shares in this episode how he has been creating online businesses since he was, 12 years old, and he's married to one of my good friends. But really what he is so passionate about right now is helping online entrepreneurs pivot in their businesses right now with the economic turn that has been happening. And I've been really committed on Highest Self podcast for the past 2 months to bring you different types of experts to support you through this shift that we are experiencing, from medical doctors to politicians like Marianne Williamson, to spiritual teachers like Matt Kahn, to earth medicine keepers like Malika. And Scott is a conscious business expert. So in this episode, we talk all things navigating your business, not just in this economic situation, but in any economic situation that happens, because guys, this may have been the first one many of us as business owners have experienced, but as we know, there are ups and downs in everything. And it's up to us to be able to create a business that's essentially recession proof, that can go past these ups and downs in society, because it is something that is so needed. So a lot of us, we have spiritual businesses or wellness businesses, et cetera. And I really asked him about our types of field that maybe, people don't see them as quote unquote necessary as maybe getting their hair cut or something like that. But actually, especially something related to spiritual and mental health is more needed than ever before. So really how to shift your marketing, how to handle customer service issues that come out, how to make changes in your revenue, how to handle situations with your team and other issues that show up. So this is a deep dive into how to create the most thriving business out of this experience that is recession-proofed moving forward. So again, if having a business is not interesting for you, this is not the episode for you. But if you are, I know we got a lot of health coaches, a lot of yoga teachers, a lot of Etsy store owners, a lot of conscious lawyers and doctors, etc. And of course, I have my Together We Impress mastermind and coach female entrepreneurs to taking their business to the next level. And to me, my own business has been such a catalyst to my spiritual and personal growth. And I know for a lot of us, it is the same. So this episode is for you. We talk all about the nitty-gritty things that most people, especially a lot of spiritual people, don't like to talk about. But for me, it is super important that we have all hands on deck. We know what's happening, because you deserve to be abundant, queen. You deserve to thrive. You deserve to get mentored by the best people in the game. And Scott Oldford is one of them. And I'm so honored to have him on this episode. Without further ado, let's welcome Scott to the Highest Self podcast. And before we get started, I have an announcement for you. Oh my goddess, sister queen. I am so excited to share with you that Rose Gold Goddesses is officially open. We are accepting new members for the most high vibe community on the interwebs and in real life as well. What Rose Gold Goddesses is your sacred sisterhood collective. We have our very own app with all types of content to support you on your spiritual journey. From all of my masterclasses, I upload content specifically for Rose Gold Goddesses, from manifestation to launching a podcast to writing a book and everything in between, to support you on your journey of becoming your highest self. There are thousands of like-minded women who are there to connect with you, whether you want to meet up for a cup of ceremonial cacao or talk about your dharma or whatever it is that you need support with at this time. Rose Gold Goddesses has got you. Consider it your spiritual gym membership with all things to support you on your journey of becoming your highest self. So you can come join us at rosegoldgoddesses.com. Again, that is rosegoldgoddesses.com, and we are so excited to welcome you in. Welcome, Scott, to the Highest Self podcast. It's so great to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm excited to talk with you and everybody today.
So the first question I'd love to ask you is, what makes you your highest self?
That's a good question. So I'd say a couple of things. Number one, spending enough time by myself, spending enough time to be creative, spending enough time with really my higher self and allowing him to actually show me what I need to be doing. And then I think second thing, being able to share the gifts that I've been given, the expertise I've been given, the knowledge I've been given from that higher self to other people, which I guess is the joy of being able to be in your higher self. So I think that would definitely be mine.
I love that. And, we were just chatting, and I feel like you do such a great job at kind of bringing consciousness and business together, and like seeing how, our businesses are a reflection of what's going on within and how we can do so much good in the world and create a better future, because you're also a huge futurist, bridging together technology and spirituality. So I love learning from you, and I know that my audience is too.
Well, thank you. I did not expect to end up at the intersection of futurism, business, and consciousness all at once, but it happened. And so much like life, when you look back and you see all the dots connect, you're like, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. And so I get to show up every day and help people kind of merge all this and be able to bring it back to the day-to-day so that they can have a better life and a better business and better relationships.
So something that you are extremely passionate about sharing right now is how to essentially recession-proof your business. We are going through a crazy economic time. I don't think any of us really saw this coming, except for you, but not in this quite way. And you've been really stepping up to giving entrepreneurs really valuable content and resources, which I know so many Highest Self podcast listeners are entrepreneurs or inspiring to be entrepreneurs, and how to really pivot their businesses at this time to talk about what their target clients are needing in this moment.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody could have predicted the way that it happened, but of course that's always like life, right? That's always like the future. You can never predict, you can get ready, but I've been getting ready for this since 2018. I thought we had about another year in the economy and of what was going to happen, and everything that happened with this virus and everything that's been kind of going on, and all the fear that's happening in the world. More than likely, you're kind of here, and you're like, what the heck do I do? Am I gonna be able to get the clients that I'm gonna be able to get or have already? Am I going to be able to get new clients? I've been talking with people in my inbox. I just quit my job, 8 weeks ago. What should I do? What should I do here? And so what I want to do today, as much as I can, is really help you understand, number one, what's actually happening. Number two, what you can actually do about it. And number three, sort of give you some, not, I'll say, just fluffy inspiration or motivation, but actually give you some level of a strategic plan of what you really should be looking to do in the next 90 days to the next, call it a year. So overall, basically the way I've been explaining it to everybody is like, if you had a plan, rip it up. Because everything, the way that you offered something before, the way that you marketed before, the way that you sold something before, the way that you delivered something before, that was when the economy was really in a good place. It was in a time where, the way I put it is when the economy is good, people get lazy. And so now's the time to be able to be not lazy, and now's the time to be able to do things, a little bit differently and a little bit more proactively, a little bit more strategic. And while at the same time, and I know that you're, a big advocate of this, is not being in reaction all the time, but being able to respond, being able to, come back and be calm and be present and to respond what's going on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's, there's a really, really, really good card I pulled this morning. It was like, now is the time to use all that you've gathered. And I think it's so important right now. All the consciousness work you've done, all the spiritual work you've done, all the business work you've done. Now is like the test of, wow, okay, let's put this all together and let's make this work.
I love that so much. And I think right now, so many of us are so afraid of selling, unsure of, let's say you were selling a luxury item. Are people even going to want that anymore? How to essentially, first of all, figure out what's happening and then how to pivot it. So I first of all want to talk about how have people's needs changed? Because I was reading your recession proof document, which is incredible. I'll have that link in the show notes. But you were talking about how people before, they would be talking about have more freedom in your life, have more self-expression, these more long-term goals. And now really people are focused on security, comfort, short-term. So can you talk about this shift that we all need to make in our marketing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so a couple of things you have to understand: hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Whether or not someone's actually, lower, their perception is that they're going to be lower, right? And so a lot of people are scared right now. They don't know what to do with their money if they have money. They don't know what's going to happen with their job. So the automatic thing when someone is like that is for them to go into scarcity instead of abundance. So a couple of things are happening right now. People's vanity and their ego gets things like this when the recession comes, when things are, that stuff kind of goes out completely, right? So if you've ever sold freedom, if you've ever sold, hey, travel the world, hey, do what you want, hey, get back more time, make more money. Well, now it's actually more about income security. All right. How do I pay my mortgage? How do I pay my rent? How do I take care of my health? Not from an optimization perspective, but so that, I stay well, or like literally well. So things have kind of brought back, and if I say the collective was in the third level of the hierarchy of needs, right? If I was going to say that, let's say North America, most people in the third level of hierarchy of needs, Google it if you kind of want a reference to this. Well, we've just kind of taken a step back down to step 2. Even if we may not be, we are, from a perception perspective, because of the news, because of the fear, because of our news feeds, we are acting as if we're in stage 2, if we're on to the level 2. And so that means that in your marketing, and I talk about this in the recession proof guide, and by the way, really, really recommend that. It's 12,000 words of, some of my best work on exactly what's happening, much more detail on what to do. But your marketing really has to change to be more forward, more talking about not bringing people into scarcity. I don't believe in doing that. I don't believe in the manipulating people or doing any of that type of stuff, but a lot more talking to exactly what their pains are, offering painkillers, not vitamins, and being able to really go to people. If you've ever relied on applications or getting people on webinars, well, now's the time inside of your marketing and transitioning even into your sales to be the one to start the conversation. The difference of you being able to get someone to say yes might be you talking them through their fear right now. So when someone's in fear makes people that are logical very, very, it takes their logic completely out of the whole picture. And so what you want to do is be able to help them get back to their logic, help them get back to their intuition, help them get back to their own intellectual self, their own consciousness of their intuition and their intellectual. And so unfortunately what happens is they start listening to their father, or they start listening to their, daughter, they start listening to the news, or they start listening to their coworker. And then that idea, the subconscious mind is very powerful. And so what you really have to think about is that you're fighting a fight. Your competition's no longer the person down the road. The competition is someone's subconscious mind that has all this fear playing in the back and all this scarcity. And you really have to be the bridge to bring them to seeing that there's abundance, to seeing that they need to actually work on themselves, or to see that they need, I said this and I keep on saying it. If you're in the realms of helping people upgrade their consciousness, in the realm of educating people, in the coaching, consulting, helping someone transition their job, if you're in marketing or advertising, all of those things right now are going to see the biggest boom we've seen maybe ever. We saw it in 2008. We saw it after 9/11. We saw it in 1997. Every single time, these things keep on booming, and marketing is so critically important right now. Conversations are so critically important. Connecting with people are so critically important. And so a lot of the sort of typical marketing methods of, just giving the freedom, or just giving, hey, here's the vitamin, unless it's vitamin C, no one's going to be buying it right now.
So well said. And you're completely accurate. People are buying figurative painkillers, not vitamins right now. And what you really mean with that is such a good analogy of people are like, I'm in pain, I'm in scarcity, I'm in fear. How am I going to get out of this crippling state, like swimming deep in the pool of fear?
Yeah.
And if you can help them get out, that is something that they're willing to pay for. And I'm seeing probably a lot of the people who maybe, before would have spent their money, I'll sign up for this program and that program, they're going to want more one-on-one coaching. Do you see that being an emerging trend?
I actually see that being a massive emerging trend right now. And so I think that you're going to see, here's what I see, that you're going to see the middle products and programs, you're going to see that evaporate right now, right? So the group coaching program where you're only there once a month or whatever it might be, that's going to evaporate a little bit. And so what you're going to see is you're going to see the very high end, right? So the one-on-ones, the ultra high end, the in-person days, the VIP days, the real intimate, let's get into the brass tacks of everything that's going on. Let's get into who you are. Let's upgrade your mind. Let's upgrade whatever it is that you help with. We're going to see a massive rise in that. I'm seeing that in my own life right away, right? I've never had more people reach out to me to work with me one-on-one in my entire life from that perspective, right? Because a lot of the people I work with have money. Pretty much everyone I work with have money. Well, now they're in more uncertainty about what they should actually be doing, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but if I look at the middle, if I look at the group program, or let's say the $10,000 program, that amount of interest just in the last 4 weeks has gone down significantly just in my own life and those that I mentor. Whereas then the lower end, right? So the kind of the lower end with higher intimacy. So if you're going to do a group program, 5x how much intimacy should actually be in there.
Mm. So what would you consider a low end? Less than 200 or in the 20 a month range?
I think what you got to kind of look at from that perspective is it's relative, right? So I would say that lower end, anything under 500, I think is going to have more difficulty right now because people don't want information right now. They don't want knowledge right now. They want to know what to do right now, and they want a high level of certainty right now.
They want guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They want guidance right now.
I love that. And I think a lot of listeners are those guides, like they're life coaches, they're yoga teachers, et cetera. And it's really stepping up to, this isn't about, maybe before it was 10 ways to get rid of your addiction to whatever else. Right now, that addiction or the phobia or whatever is not on their front line. Their front line is how do I get out of the panic attack that I'm at? So, what kind of content should people be changing? Should we be going back to everything, our sales pages? How deep should we be going into this?
I would say, I would say look at your entire funnel, your email sequence, your sales page, your ads, if you do ads, your Instagram posts, your Facebook, whatever you're doing is going to have to change. Whatever your messaging is going to have to change, because if not, so what I've seen is if you change the messaging, and I see this specifically with the people that I work with that are running paid advertising, their ad costs are going 80% lower than they've ever been. Okay. When they're talking about where we are in the market right now, anybody that's not talking about where the market is, I've seen the ad costs go up by 10x, which is unprecedented. I've never seen that before. And so what's happening is, then this all comes back to relevancy. And I have a methodology around marketing called the ROI method, and it stands for relevancy, omnipresence, and intimacy. And I won't go deep into it today or anything like that. But the biggest element right now around relevancy is you got to know who you're talking to. You got to be able to be relevant to them. That makes sure that you're positioning to them. So the way that they see you is very, very accurate and dead on. The way that you're messaging, the way that you're bringing them through, okay, hey, here's your pain. Here's your problem. Here's the consequences of that problem. All right. Now, here's the methodology to fix that. Hey, I'm the authority to do this. Here's the proof that I've done it before. Okay, here's your solution. Let me take care of your objections and let me show you the vision. Okay. So all of these things have to be around what's actually going on in the world, because the offer that worked a month ago, and I'm seeing this all over the board right now, people calling me being like, my funnel don't work anymore. And I'm like, okay, but your funnel would work. You just got to change your messaging, right? And so everything, you got to be really proactive. Even if it's still working right now, you got to go and very, very quickly change this, because it's going to get much more difficult to market without having that changed.
100%. And I think that it's probably going to be like this. I don't think the virus necessarily, but we were talking about just the economy. It's probably going to be like this for a bit of time. So it's not like you have to, I was talking to a friend, she's like, well, I don't want to redo all of my sales pages and emails and stuff, because then when it goes back, I'll have to redo them again. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be this 2-week thing and that's it. We need to look at this more long-term, that, when a lot of people lose their jobs and it creates this ripple effect, it takes time to build up. And that doesn't mean that people aren't spending any money. In fact, in some areas, they're spending spending more money than ever before, like,
Absolutely.
Pure Hell, of course, and Zoom calls, but also just, I'm sure therapists or like online, like whatever those online virtual therapy things are, like anything that you can do to bring your business online and give people security, this is the call. So if you're a yoga teacher, instead of being like, learn all about the, Bhagavad Gita, like no one wants to know the Bhagavad Gita right now. It's like, here's how to feel better today.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you really have to realize that like this is not, we're recording this the end of March right now. This is not something where we're going to look in June and the economy just bounced back up. This is going to take years. This is a ripple effect that is going to that is going to change a lot of things. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I think this is a transition. I think a lot of things are transitioning right now. I think anytime that big things happen in the world, it is a wake-up call. And I think it's going to allow us as a collective to increase our consciousness, because every single time that a big event happens, that's what typically happens. Either our consciousness goes up or our consciousness goes down. And so I really believe, and everything that I've researched from AI and robotics and everything else, I really think that this is a wake-up call and attention awakening for people. And I think that's actually, if we look back 10 years from now on this date, when we look back and we're like, oh, remember the pandemic of 2020, remember that what happened in the economy in 2020, we're going to look back on it and be like, wow, that was the start of something amazing. But looking at your marketing materials, looking at your sales materials, be like, you know what, this is all going to blow over. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that if the economy goes right back up in 90 days, it will be right back down in 90 days thereafter, because it'll only ever be based on speculation that it's going to go back up. And so I really believe that you have to, in all business, doesn't matter what one you're in, I believe in I think it's either the second or third law of thermodynamics, which is essentially Murphy's law, which is anything that can happen will happen. Right. And everything that will break, right? The second, I think is either the second or third law of thermodynamics, is every possible thing that can break will break. And so in business, every possible thing that you have up, no, it doesn't matter if it's an offer, even though an offer worked for 3 years, it might not work today. And so that's what you really got to look at right about now.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that this really reminded us of the fragility of everything. For a lot of people listening right now, and for myself, this is our first time as business owners even going through a recession. A lot of us did not have businesses in 2008. So we're like, wait, what is happening? I thought that things just keep getting better. And we, in some ways had it really freaking easy. And now we are being shown a different side. And again, it doesn't mean the end. A lot of great is going to come from it. I think just the way that we operate as a society is going to be so much better, and it's an incredible global awakening, and we're in for the ride, and we have to be holding on and paying attention and maneuvering with it. So I want to talk about customer service, because a lot of people are confused right now. My customer can't do payment plans anymore, or they want to leave for my membership, or they want to leave their program with me. What do we do in these cases?
So you got to really kind of think about a lot of things here. Just like in all marketing and sales, there's a lot of different pillars inside of each. But what I would start off and say is, number one, if you have customers already, and go to them and be like, hey, here's where I see things. Here's what I'm going to be doing more than what that you even promised, that I even promised you. Are we good? How are you doing? So on and so forth. Okay. Second thing is going to them and saying, so by doing that, don't wait for them to come to you. If you wait for them to come to you, what's going to happen is that they're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm canceling this. All right. As soon as someone's decided that they're going to cancel it, it's an ego decision now. They're not going to go back from an ego decision. Right. They got enough courage to cancel it to start with. Right. It takes a lot of courage. Most people takes a lot of courage to cancel something or say they're not going to pay something or whatever it might be. So go to them proactively and be able to take care of this. Number two, in terms of payment plans, you might have to go to them and say, hey, listen, we need to extend this. What works for you? What can you actually pay? What based on your expenses and everything else? Right now is not the time to take out your lawyer, okay? Because you're not gonna what are you gonna do? It's gonna take you 2 years to try to get some money on a contract. I always say this, which is like, yes, contracts are legally binding documents, but it's rare that if someone ever takes you to court or takes you to collections, they ever even get see any of that money. Okay. And so right now is a time where at least personally in my own life, if somebody can't pay for it and they can't figure it out, my energy is best spent finding new customers and how to give value to the ones that can pay me. And so, and that's just my view on this. I was $1 million in debt when I was 21, which wasn't that long ago. It was only 7, 8 years ago. And, a lot of people helped me out during that time, helped me out, extend my payment plans. I paid back every single dollar. I did not go bankrupt. I paid every single dollar of, $1 million plus in debt. And so I have a kind of a sweet spot for entrepreneurs and sweet spot for people that pay me. And in times like this, people truly, honestly cannot pay you a lot of the time. But even more of the time, if you went to them, figured out what was actually going on, actually got down to the heart level with that person, you're going to be able to have a much, much, much better opportunity to actually get some payment for them. I'd rather take a payment plan stretched over 12 months than not get any money. And so I think that that's really what you got to look at right there.
100%. And I think just maintaining that relationship with the client and not being like, well, your agreement said you would pay me by the 1st. Like, a lot has happened this month that is unprecedented and no one could have predicted. And I'm sure no one feels good deferring a payment plan. I mean, a lot of people can't even pay their rent, et cetera. So I think we get to be really flexible, but I also do understand as business owners, we are depending on that to pay team, et cetera. Yeah. So I want to ask you about giving discounts on your products, programs, coaching, et cetera right now. Like, a lot of people are saying, well, should I discount it? Should I give stuff for free? Or is that devaluing me? Is that setting me up for failure? What do you think about discounting right now?
I think that purely just discounting for the sake of discounting, I don't think makes a ton of sense. Okay. If you're creating a new offer and that offer is lower than what any offer you've ever had, I think that makes more sense. If you're doing something like, hey, listen, we're going to waive your monthly fee or your monthly membership or whatever it might be for X number of reason, I think that could work too, right? But saying, hey, listen, this program's been $9.97, and because of this virus and the economy, it's now $4.97 for the rest of time or for the next week. I think it's better from a brand perspective. I really believe this. Better from a brand perspective to come out with a new offer that's at least changed, whether it's that you add something or take something away or whatever it might be. I think it's better to do that than it is to just purely, kind of change or just completely discount. That's my own brand anyways, right? Some people have brands where they can get away with discounting and that's their audience and that's the audience that they bring, and they have to do that in order to generate sales and revenue and that type of thing. Like, a lot of people, they have to do their Easter sale and they have to do their Black Friday sale and they have to do these different types of sales, right? So it's not always that's not advice that works for everybody. But in general, I don't think you should be giving away. I see some people giving away the farm for free right now, or they're like, I'm afraid to make an offer. Now, listen, if you're afraid to make an offer, the entire economy is going to collapse if everyone did that. Everyone just gave everyone for free, the entire economy would collapse and we'd have no stock market. Money wouldn't be valuable. We'd be bartering, right? And so you got to be kind of careful on both ends. If you want to do anything, take a percentage of your profit and donate it. I think that's a great thing to do. That's something that, I personally do, and personally doing with all the things that I'm doing right now. Of taking a percentage and donating it, to various charities that are in need right now, various people and families that are in need as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is, a lot of us, especially as women, we're like, well, let me discount it and let me just give it and just to keep them. And it really discounts our offer. It discounts us as entrepreneurs. And it is important, I think it's really hard for us. Like, well, I'll lose them if I don't discount it. And again, maybe you work around them, you work with them. Again, it depends if this a one-on-one thing, et cetera. Yeah. But I think a lot of their fears are, well, I can't launch a new product right now. I have a fear of selling. How can we sell authentically in this market?
I'm going to preface this and say it's really easy for me to give a lot of advice right now because, I'm not in a scenario where I'm looking at the bank and being like, wow, I don't have enough money for rent next month. So I always have to be careful of the way I answer questions like that because I'm not in that scenario. But that's also one of the reasons why I do mentor some people that are in that scenario to stay, relevant with what really the experience of most entrepreneurs at the end of the day. So I would say this. I would say that authenticity, from my experience, comes from not necessarily 1,000% honesty. I think that 95% honesty is, for the most part, is better in society than 100% honesty. I think if we were 100% honest, no one would have relationships. No one would like anybody. because people aren't always ready to hear 100% of what it is. I would say that, number one. Number two, I think that entrepreneurship more than anything else is just purely about being present to listen to someone, having awareness around what their problem or pain actually is, and figuring out a way that works for you and them to be able to work with them. You might go through a time right now where you have 19. So I'll give you a story. Back in 2013, in 2011, I sold one of my businesses for $1 to avoid bankruptcy. And so I was in a very, very dark time in 2011, 2012. The only time in my entire life that I worked for anybody. Keep in mind, when I was 16, I had $1 million business. I had a crazy, crazy story growing up and looking back at it. So, but one day I finally was like, you know what, this is enough. And I had $12,000 a month in debt payments. And I left this agency and I had less than $4,000 in my bank account. Okay. Literally like bullet to my head, like a lot of people might feel like right now. Okay. So I've experienced this in my life. And so what I did is I went and I got 60 meetings, okay, with every single business owner I possibly could. I went through LinkedIn. I showed up at their office. I did, lunches. I did dinner. I mean, I remember gassing up the last gas card I had. I exchanged all my points, all my air mile points for gas cards, and being like, wow, like that's the last bit of gas I have. So I need to be careful with like where I go and where I use this money. And in less than 30 days, so all I did every single one of these meetings, I had no business card, I had no website, I had no nothing. All I had was me, all right? All I had was me and my ability to be resourceful enough to figure it out. And I think that's the biggest lesson I'm going to share through here. And in that time, all I did, looking back, was I listened to them, I understood them, I heard them, not just listened to them, but heard them. I repeated back to them what they are experiencing, painted a picture of what it looked like to have that problem fixed, and then went and figured out how much I could give that to them, and then if they could pay me that. I secured in less than 30 days $250,000 in revenue from doing that. I had no team members, I had no employees, I had nothing. Now, I was working 20 hours a week for the next 6 months to figure that out. I had to hire people, I had to do all kinds of crazy things, but I got $250,000, not by having some marketing campaign, not by having a fancy business card or a fancy website or a fancy funnel. Didn't even have a funnel. It was just me showing up, listening, and then being able to respond on how can I help? And so I think the easiest way to be able to be authentic in this time is to the highest of your ability, come to someone with pure support, figuring out how you can really fix their problem, how you can really add value to them, how you can really serve them. And then you're going to be taken care of after that, because that's just the way that life kind of goes. That's the way the universe goes. You take care of people, people take care of you. And so I think that that's really the key element of authenticity, of being able to sell. And that also takes this whole, inner story of I'm not good enough, or I don't trust myself, or I don't love myself enough to get on the phone, or I don't think I'm valuable enough. It takes all of that away because it's not about you. It's actually just about you being able to show up and actually helping someone, looking at them and saying, I can help you. Or looking at someone and being like, you know what, I can't help you. That's beyond my skill set. That's beyond what I know how to do. Or I love the story, Richard Branson, right? Richard Branson, when his very first private jet experience where he, brought people that created Virgin Airlines, it was him being stuck in an airport, him chartering a private jet, and him getting the people to say, hey, yeah, I want to be on that, right? And so a lot of the time, you're going to see someone's problem, then you need to go figure out how to fix it. And in this time, this is when entrepreneurs are born, because entrepreneurs solve problems. And that's all you do. You go find problems, you solve those problems, and you get paid for those problems. And that to me is how to be authentic in this time.
I love that so much. And really, it just shows how resourceful we are as humans when we get to that place that we essentially have to be. And most of us, honestly, a lot of us have never really had to be. A lot of us have never been to a point like maybe that we are now, that we're like, okay, I need to get something figured out. And I think it's a huge opportunity for us to step into the ways that we can be of service that we didn't even think about before. So you were sharing, for example, that, one of your clients was teaching people how to travel around the world. Well, that business just isn't there. Like, you can try as hard as you want, but right now people are not traveling around the world. But I'm sure he has other skills that are valuable that people could use. Maybe it's creating how he created his business or something else totally unrelated. And I think that this is a huge invitation for us to step into those hidden superpowers that we have that we just haven't been leading with yet. I know this episode is good, but so is this sponsor. A lot of us don't feel comfortable going to supermarkets right now, and cafes are closed, which means we aren't picking up green juices or even buying fresh produce as often. But right now, it is more important than ever before to keep our immune systems high, especially with greens and superfoods. I've been drinking Organifi Green every single day, and it's been a goddess send. It contains immune-boosting ingredients like moringa, chlorella, spirulina, wheatgrass, ashwagandha, turmeric, lemon, mint, and so much more. It takes only 1 minute to add into my water, and I feel so good knowing that at least I got my greens in for that day, which frankly I may not have had otherwise. I've also sent it to my family members to keep them healthy at this time too. You can receive 20% off your Organifi at Organifi.com using coupon code Sahara. Again, that's Organifi, ORGANIFI.com using coupon code Sahara, and that link is in the show notes.
I think right now is the time to look and be like, you know what? I'm going to forget everything that I've done. Let's figure out what works. Okay. It's always like, I always, people are like, oh, well, that's not, if someone says that's not fair, I'm like, I don't care about what's fair in life. I care about what works. Right. And so right now is the time to be able to approach everything is I know nothing. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I'm trying to figure out what works. And I'm going to use my gut. I'm going to use my intuition to guide me. And yes, I should have some mentor. Yes, I should have some guides. Yes, I need some people in my life that can actually guide me. But right now is the best time of any time to be able to like, what works for me? What works for the market? What works for this potential customer? And let me pivot to whatever it is. You got to look like in 2008 when the market crashed, Airbnb got started after that crash. Uber got started in that year. A lot of the things that we know and love today got started because the paradigm shifted. Someone saw the opportunity, which, by the way, is just the problem. Someone just saw the problem and they were like, oh, I can actually fix that problem. And then they got the desire to actually fix that problem. And people pay money to people that solve problems. And that's how our world works. And so you find a problem, you find one that you can fix, and then you find people that are willing to pay you for it, and you have a business. People complicate this stuff way, 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 way too much. And I think right now we get to come back to the basics of what business really is. And I think I think that's beautiful.
So well said. Yes, a friend of mine, he was running this big like social media influencer management company, which just, a lot of brands are not investing in that right now. And he's taking those skills as just being a consultant. And he's finding people like on Upwork and different places and just being a consultant using, many of the skills that he learned and other skills that he hasn't gotten to use. Yeah. But he quickly saw, okay, people are not spending, millions of dollars on, the Kardashians at this moment. So what can I do right now to provide value? And I think that sometimes our ego takes a hit of like, well, it was supposed to be like this, and I want to serve like that, and I worked so hard, and it was supposed to work out. And we have to let go of the way that anything was supposed to be, because nothing is a guarantee. And acceptance is really the key to happiness. Like when you can just accept this is what it is, then there's no more, like as Eckhart Tolle said, there's no more drama around it. There's no more, it should be this. This is just the situation that we're in. So how are you going to make this the best opportunity ever? And we've been talking about how this is actually the best opportunity ever for online entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's so important just to, I'll talk about the online entrepreneurs, but in 2019, I had a business at $10 million in revenue, but I knew that this time was coming. I knew that this time was coming, and I did not want to be in this time doing $500,000 in expenses. $500,000 in expenses adds up to be a lot of millions of dollars if the market goes not the right way. And so I sold part of the business, shut down part of the business. Me shutting down that business cost me over almost $1 million of my own personal money. Okay. And I would look at that and be like, oh, that sucks. I had a whole identity issue around that, because I was the guy that helped people, build 7-figure businesses and scale them and all these different types of things. And, everyone saw it as successful. But for me, I was like, oh, like I wish I would have built that and sold it. And then when I got to the point, a couple months went by, and when I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I accept that happened. I accept of who I am. I accept who I'm not. And I accept that I know something's going to happen, and I trust my gut. And I trust my intuition that it is. And I'm looking now and I'm like, I'm so glad I did that. Because it was about a year ago.
You fully moved up to the woods. You're like ready for it.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Absolutely. I actually, in the video here, I forgot to turn the lights on. That's how much I'm in the woods. I forget. We don't do lights. We do fire these days for our eyes. But back to where the potential is, right? And if you're listening to this, you might be an entrepreneur, you might not be an entrepreneur, you might be someone that is looking at entrepreneurship now and being like, whoa, I got to do this, right? I need to create my own destiny. I need to create my own reality. And I think that's what entrepreneurship really does. And so right now, you're going to see more online entrepreneurs than any other time ever, right? The next 12 to 18 months, we're going to see more online entrepreneurs than any other time. You're going to see so many people that are quitting their jobs, that got laid off, that the situation changed. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to take reality into my own hands. And so I've been writing this book for a while, and it talks about, this book's not my next one coming out in June, but this one will be next year. And it talks about how we all have entrepreneurialism in our blood. Like we literally do. Like 300 years ago, we were all entrepreneurs. And then industrialization came by, and then we had bosses, and we had managers, and we had upper management and lower management. And we had, this and that and all these different types of things, right? That created us to be employees instead of really the creators of our reality. Okay. And so I think that we're going into a time over the next 10 years, specifically the next 3 years, where AI and robots are going to replace a lot of the jobs that are out there. And we now get to become entrepreneurs again. And you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at that and be like, oh my God, all the jobs are going to get replaced. Oh my God. And all the chaos and all the fear, right? And you have the opportunity to do that. Or you have the opportunity to look at it and be like, wow, I actually get to go solve problems, live my best life, create my own destiny, create for me, and do something purposeful with my life. The number of people that are in jobs that they hate, getting a paycheck that they don't want to even have to pay for student loans or pay for this or paying for that. I mean, the number of people that are just not on fire in life because they're not on a purpose is just so high. And now we almost get this reset in our world. We almost get a reset where it's like, okay, yeah, you know what? Someone's going to lose their job. You might be listening to this right now. You might have just lost your job, and you might be devastated by that news. You may feel guilt by that news. You may feel so many things by that news. But the truth is that is the ability for you to really have a wake up call, to really look at the mirror and be like, you know what? I've got this. The only certainty that I need is that I can look at the mirror and I know that I'm going to be able to figure it out. I know that I am resourceful enough to be able to figure it out, to be able to help people, to be valuable in our society, to be valuable into what I do. And I think that is the beautiful thing about the online business world right now. People are seeing location is a massive problem. Not being able to travel is a massive problem, right? We are seeing this with the virus right now. But imagine with online business, you have the ability to do it absolutely anywhere. A lot of people, though, unfortunately, they've gotten lazy. They might have known about online business, right? They might have known about it, but they're like, oh, well, you know what? I like my situation. People love comfort. Human beings, they love comfort. Well, now is a beautiful time in an uncomfortable time to be able to do something that might have been uncomfortable before, but now will create even a higher level of comfort. And so I'm really, really excited about that.
100%. And I think a lot of people right now, they're going to realize how much easier things are with online. Like I know for my husband, he was like, wow, I was going to all of these meetings in person and spending a good 20 minutes, just small talking at the beginning, when I could have this whole time done all of these meetings on a Zoom call, et cetera. So I think a lot of people are kind of like 4-hour work weeking their lives and being like, wow, I could just order my groceries. I could do this. I could do that. And yeah, we could be like, well, then what's society going to become if people aren't meeting in person? But is that really an intentional meeting to, meet with people for business things? Like, yeah, there's some small talk that goes by, but what if you actually took that time and meditated or hiked or did something that you genuinely want to do?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between distancing your bodies and distancing your heart, right? I think there's a difference between two of those. And I think, let's be honest, how many people actually have intentionality about connecting with other people on a daily basis? I don't think that as many people, I think people say that, right? But they're buying into in all honesty, like an illusion, right? I think at the end of the day, by having online and by having more virtual, we are then much more intentional about when we are actually meeting with someone in person, when we are actually connecting with someone, we are actually have the presence to slow down. Because I guarantee you, I'm way more effective having a Zoom meeting with someone than someone. If someone comes in person, I'm like, small talking for an hour. Was that really a connected, deep conversation? Or was that just like something I thought I needed to do because that's what you do in
Right.
business?
Yep.
You know?
100%. And I also think like a lot of people might be like, well, I don't have an online presence, so it's too late. And there's all these big people out there doing it. But let's say, for example, you're a yoga teacher, right? But you have your 20 regulars. Those people like to learn from you. There's something unique that you teach. So if you have now your yoga classes online, they would much rather do that than like go look through YouTube and filter through all these new people and find some that they don't really like. Also, I think the opportunity, like I know Libby, your wife does this, but like personal training on a Zoom call, like people who want the feedback, like, is my form okay? So I think we immediately think like, oh, people are just going to choose the cheapest option, but not necessarily. A lot of people want that feedback and that connectivity. Like when I moved out, like live near Malibu now, but I, at first, was always, when I lived in Santa Monica, going to workout classes every single day because I thought that's just what you do. You work out with other people. And now that I live out here, it's just too far away. And I started working out online like last year. And I'm like, why would I spend 30 minutes to drive there, 30 minutes to drive back when I can just do it online? And I feel like right now it's almost like when we were getting rid of factories, like after the Industrial Revolution, people were like, well, what are we going to do with all the factory workers? They're not going to have jobs. And now we are getting rid of a lot of other jobs that people didn't necessarily need to do. And like right now, when you go to CVS, like there's an option for self-checkout and there's an option for a human checkout. It's slowly going to shift and shift and shift, that it's going to be more and more automated. And instead of complaining about it because it's the inevitable future, we could look at what is the opportunity here, because now I don't have to necessarily even work a job for a paycheck. I think after all of this too, we're going to get a lot of basic human rights met. So we're not going to have to be like scoundering after a dollar, but actually look at like, what is my dharma? What is my purpose? And how do I really want to serve?
Well, I think we're going through a beautiful time right now. And I think a lot of people don't look at it this way, but I mean, does someone really need to be checking in things at CVS? You know what I mean? Like, does there actually need someone that person? I don't think that person probably came down to spend the rest of their life checking things out at CVS, right? If we really got down to it. So I think the truth is people are really going to be able to get into their true life's purpose. And the universe has a funny way, the universe whispers and, then it talks, then it shouts, then it slaps you in the face, then it punches you in the face, then it puts you right down on your face, right? Like in that order. And so I think a lot of people, they get out at the whisper stage, or they get out of the, the slap in the face stage. I've thankfully been able to get to the point where the universe simply only slaps me now. It doesn't punch me in the face anymore. It hasn't always been like that. And so I think overall as a consciousness, it's kind of like, kind of punching us a little bit, right? Some people to be like, hey, listen, you're not here just to do that. You're here to do something more. And I think that it's going to be a turbulent transition, but I think that it is going to be an amazing transition. I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen over the next 20, 30 years when it comes to all this. I think that we just fast forward it 5 years with what's happening right now. We're going to look back and be like, we literally fast forwarded 5 to 7 years by doing this, because people change quickly, but if they don't have to, they don't. And so, people evolve quickly, but if they don't have to, if we don't have to upgrade our consciousness because we're not getting any pain. Like I know this for me when I met, my now wife, Libby, when I met her first, I was like, I looked and I was like, it's like, I'm probably gonna have to upgrade myself quite a bit here if I want to, like, not that she asked for that or anything, but I was just like, I want to be my best self. I want to, like, if I, like, she's amazing. Like, I'm so in love with this person. Like, oh my God. And so I upgraded my consciousness by like quantum leaps after that time. And so, and if it wasn't for her, I know for a fact that it might have took 20 years to get the same amount of, human evolution that happened in 2. And so I think that significant events in our life, love, disease, debt, the economy, all these things, they allow us to condense the amount of time that evolution can actually occur. And so we're increasing our momentum and we're condensing the amount of time that it happens. And so it might feel painful. It might look painful. We might perceive it as painful. I think we're going to look back and look at the dots and be like, wow, I'm so glad that happened. There was a lot of pain, but I'm so glad for us as a collective, for our path forward, that we did that.
Beautifully said. And I always say rejection is redirection. And I think right now we're just being redirected. And when you're in it, when you're in the shitty part of your memoir, you never know it, but we're going to look back at it and be like, oh, that was my breakdown moment where I had the breakthrough, but you're never aware of it when you're going through it. You're thinking, why me? How do I get out of this? Not knowing that it was the greatest, I'm sure the moment, the situation of you being $1 million in debt is probably what you speak about more than all of your successes, right?
Absolutely. And it taught me everything to be able to actually understand how to mentor. I mean, I've helped over 100 entrepreneurs go past 7 figures at this point. And if I wasn't 7 figures in debt, I wouldn't have understood what is actually going on up there in the mind of the entrepreneur. I think I'm probably one of the best mentors in the world for somebody that's an entrepreneur that's below 8 figures. And it's because I failed my way so much. And after every failure, up until the last couple of years, I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. And now every time I fail on something new or whatever it might be, I'm like, wow, I got another story to tell now. I got another way to be able to help someone and relate with someone. And the success doesn't teach you as much as the failures. One thing I'll say on failures, and I've had a lot of them, slow down and enjoy it. It's crazy advice, right? But slow down and enjoy that. I barely remember being $1 million in debt because I tried to speed up the process of getting through it. I tried to get through it. I was like, oh my God, I got to get through this. I got to get through this. Every morning I wake up and be like, well, I got to get through this. I got to get through this. I got to get through this. And I think so many people of us in our life, we're like trying to get to something that once we get to, we look back, we're like, wow, I could have probably enjoyed the whole experience, even the crappy parts. And, I look back now and I'm like, wow, that time when I was living in that 300 square foot apartment in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada, on the most easterly point of Canada, where it's, 8 months of the year, it's minus degrees. I wish I remembered more of that. And instead I blocked it out. I just sped through it. And so I'll say that, the journey really is, looking back, the journey is by far the most enjoyable part, even if it's hard to believe that at the moment in which you're at that kind of low.
Yes, I'm so excited for all of the businesses that are going to come out of the great 2020 dip or whatever they're going to label this later on. And wow. And, we were all talking like 2020 is going to be like the decade of the visionary and moving forward. And we were all so excited for it. And now I see all these memes like, I want a refund on 2020, but if we wanted to get there, we have to pull off the Band-Aid of security or disillusion or whatever it is. And I think the level you're feeling it right now is the level that you needed to. And whatever shadows are showing up for you, we're there all along. This is just your opportunity right now to really look at them. So Are you going to numb yourself out, or are you going to really look at them? See, okay, this fear of like scarcity or death or abandonment or whatever has been there all along. Yep. Now I get to really work with it because, as you said, if you didn't have that experience now, you might have spent the rest of your life with that.
Yeah, I think the beautiful part is whether or not we like it, we've got a massive mirror on everything, right? So I say right now, there's going to be a lot of people in relationships be like, what the heck is going on? People that are quarantined together that haven't spent this much time in years, or new relationships that are like, it's going to be the whole new how a lot of people break up in January after Christmas. I think it's going to be a whole lot of breakups in June and July. But relationships, life, everything in general, there's just this massive mirror coming down, looking at you, being like, hey, you thought you had certainty, but you don't. Hey, as long as you've got yourself, you're good. Hey, do you really love yourself, or is it only when it's convenient? I see a lot of people right now, a lot of people that are conscious and spiritual. And it's kind of like, this is the time when all the tools, all that you've gathered, you really have to use. This is the time when your real character really comes out, right? It's really easy to take care of yourself and do your rituals and do your things when everything's good and you've got lots of time and, so on, right? But when things get tough, when things get tougher, your true colors really show. And so right now is going to be a time where the collective does a lot of work, deep work on themselves. And so there's going to be a group, like you said, there's going to be a group that's going to suppress that. And then there's going to be a group that rise above that. And they're like, okay, I see it, and it's time. And let's do this now. And I'm excited to see the businesses and the people and the success that comes out of this, because there's going to be so much that's going to come out of this over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yes, it is exciting times, and it is such a good time to learn, to pivot, to get that mentorship. I know I am going through all of the courses I signed up for and super excited about your new course. So can you share with us what you have created, this incredible opportunity?
Absolutely. So about 3 weeks ago now, so I was saying this beforehand, I wrote a post about a month ago now, and I was talking about, it was about 5,000 words, and it went into exactly how I was running a multi-million-dollar business, working less than 20 hours a week with only 2 team members. And I think it signaled to the universe, it was like, hey, I'm ready for more. And so, I was doing I'm a huge fan of hypnotherapy. One of my other businesses is a hypnotherapy business for entrepreneurs, a mindset company for entrepreneurs. And I was doing a hypnotherapy session. And this came to me, and it was like, hey, Scott, you need to do a program. You need to do something. It wasn't a program, but you need to do something for entrepreneurs that are going to be going through this recession. Now, keep in mind, this is before the stock market plunged. This is before everyone was even thinking about it. I knew it was coming, but most people, it didn't really kind of clue into it just yet. And so I was like, I don't want to create more work right now. I don't want to do more right now. I'm like, I just got used to, working 4 hours a day. And so then the next morning, I got a voice note from my hypnotherapist, Grace Smith, which I just actually introduced you to as well, and introduced everybody that wants any type of this mindset work. And she's like, hey, Scott, I thought about this thing. I got this dream last night. And it was a dream that you needed to create a program called Recession Proof. And I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm like, there's no way. And so she's just like, you should do it. And so I was still resistant. I didn't want to create anything new. And so then one of my friends, I mentored him back in 2017, 2018. He's created this company that's helped others generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue and scaling with their operations and team and finances. And so he called me and he was like, hey, Scott, I'm going to do a program. There's so many people hurting right now. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to run their operations. They don't know how to run anything, and they need help. And so I was like, oh my God, like this is the part I was missing. He has a team of 15 people. He can deliver it. So I could take my brilliance and put it on top of his ability to deliver it. So that we created this program called Recession Proof for online entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter if you're at $1,000 a month, $10,000, $50,000 a month. And it's really a 6-week intensive to be able to bring you up to speed on what you need to do to change your marketing right now, what to change in your sales right now, what you need to do on every element of the business, how to take care of your finances right now, how to get the credit you need, how to use any credit if you have that, how to manage your mindset and take care of your mindset. And so we're literally doing like 5 lives a week inside of this program, giving you my ROI method, my marketing and sales program. I don't want to go too much into the pitch or anything like that. But really, at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I want something that's accessible, that anybody can really kind of get into. We created a super affordable weekly payment plan for everybody, and really just a way to be able to create a medium, my medium, where most people pay me literally anywhere from 5 to 6 figures to work with me at the different capacities that they do. But I wanted something where we could take thousands of entrepreneurs and be able to help them. And so that's really what we're doing with Recession Proof, giving them what they need, being able to future proof, and being able to get the quick wins that, most programs you come in, you're like, all right, well, I'm going to make, some progress over the next, 6 months. Well, we're going to help you get progress in the next week. And that's really what this is about.
It's so good. Already I've started to watch some of the lives, and they're so valuable. It's really helped me. I've already gone through changing my Rose Gold Goddesses page to be more about, what people are experiencing, the loneliness right now. And we are going to be doing a bonus that I'll be throwing in, an extra webinar for people who are interested in talking to their audience and how to really connect with people at this difficult time. And also just understanding, if, for example, if you have a membership or program or whatever, how to really talk to people in a way so they could know that this is for the best for them and really speak into their hope rather than their fear to bring them up. So I'm super excited to add that as a bonus.
I'm so excited for that as well. I've never been this excited. One of the really cool parts of this is I'm able to come from a place of pure support with this. I don't have to do this. And when you don't have to do something, but you're called to do it, the amount of conviction that you have is just so much different. And so I want that for everybody in the world at the end of the day, because it's just such a beautiful thing. And I know you've experienced this as well. And so it's really going to be just such an amazing experience for someone, the community aspect of it, the learning aspect of it, the level of support that we're providing. I think we're going to put the link in the show notes and all that type of stuff. But anybody that's any bit interested on this, I would highly recommend go taking a look at this, because it's really going to help absolutely everybody, no matter where you're to with your online business right now.
Oh my God. It's like even just reading your recession proof guide, which was just like a little taste of it, helped me so much, because I didn't even fully realize like that I needed to change like so many different aspects of my business, and all of these little things that you thought about that saved me tens of thousands of dollars. So I think that this is really the opportunity for us to look within, take that hood off of our businesses and look and see what's really going on. And it's the perfect time because, you know, a lot of the times we're too busy for a course, or we're this or we're that. Like, guess what? No one has a schedule right now. So spend that time learning and taking those quick wins. And you know, the last thing anyone wants to do right now is lay off their team or take an income cut, et cetera. And it's happening to so many people. And if we, not just for ourselves, but for our team and all of the people depending on us, we get to go deep into understanding what is happening right now so we can create the business that truly solves problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's so important to know what's happening, why it's happening, what to do about it, and then to be able to take action on it. And of course, we're going to put the link to the guide. I literally had someone message me and say, I made in the last 24 hours, I made $50,000 just by implementing what was in the guide. And keep in mind, that person had an audience of less than 5,000 people. So not a big audience, not a massive business. That guide alone is helping people so much. So even if you're in a place where you're like, you know what, I don't have any money to buy anything, that's totally fine. I just want to get that guide in your hands. I think it's going to be the most valuable thing you read this year.
100%. It has been amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us, for pouring in, you know, your years of research. Even though you're a young soul, you've lived a jam-packed life.
Yes.
And we're so grateful to be able to learn from you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I hope you got a lot of value from that podcast. I know Scott is a super knowledgeable and go-to business mentor for so many people. And I feel so honored that he took the time to be here on the Highest Self podcast, sharing his best tips and strategies with us. And again, if you want to dive into his program, receive my bonus webinar, head over to the link in the show notes. You will see a little bit.ly link there. You can download his recession proof guide. If you end up signing up for his program, you'll receive my free bonus webinar, and it's going to support you so deeply as you navigate these shifts. If you loved this episode, I would love to send you a free gift, which is the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. This is a different book than Eat Feel Fresh, my first book ever, which is not released anywhere. And I am gifting it exclusively to those who leave a review of my podcast in the iTunes store. So all you got to do is head over to iTunes, where you may be listening to this podcast, and leave a review. Take a screenshot that you've left it and email it over to me at Sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, that's Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com. And I will send you back the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type, which goes all into Ayurveda, doshas, plant-based nutrition, body types, all of the things in a really fun and engaging way. So this is my gift to you for free for supporting the podcast. Every single review I personally read. It really helps the podcast be listened to by more people so we can raise the vibration of the planet together. And I am so grateful to have you on this journey. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Namaste.